All right. Paul Finebaum of SEC Network and the Paul Finebaum Show. He came out with his projection for Oklahoma's win total. I don't know about that, Paul.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Paul Finebaum, SEC Network, and the Paul Finebaum Show had this to say about the Oklahoma Sooners. He said, "I will give you their path to success." I'm really glad he's got the crystal ball because the rest of us, we're out here in the dark just trying to figure this thing out as we go along. First half of the season, they really need to run through that schedule up until Texas. If they screw around and lose to Michigan or Auburn, I think they have problems. I think the only loss I can see in the first 6 games is Texas. Then it becomes almost impossible to call. I look at them as maybe an 8 or 9 win season, probably 8, Jay.
So, John, let's take a gander at the schedule, and I'm going to name off all the games. And I'm kind of curious to who the actual losses are. So he said 8 or 9. So let's go ahead and just say 9. That means that would be 3 losses, right? So he says we go undefeated. We walk into Red River 5-0. But he expects us to lose that game. I don't expect us to lose that game. I expect us to actually win that game this year because it's kind of like on the perfect cycle of us with them breaking in Arch and, running backs. It's kind of a flip-flop. It feels like that. And we're bringing in a veteran quarterback, new OC. Seems to be the thing that makes Texas struggle against us. So I'm going to say we're going to win that game. After that, you've got South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Out of those 3 games, who is the loss that you think Paul is given to us?
South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee. I will say at South Carolina.
Okay.
I like sense. Oklahoma against Tennessee and Joey Aguilar. I like Oklahoma at home against Ole Miss. Same. Remember, on the road against Ole Miss last year with Oklahoma's garbage offense, they had a lead at halftime. Just couldn't block anybody in the second half.
Nope.
And even against South Carolina, maybe I'm sitting here saying of those 3, that's the one I feel least comfortable about, but I don't sit here and believe that South Carolina is head and shoulders better than Oklahoma.
Me either.
It's more just saying okay, in their place, in their building with Lenora Sellers and with Dylan Stewart and with Shane Beamer, who I think is a really good coach. That's one I could see them losing. I think Heupel's a good coach too. I just don't know if Tennessee's as good as they were last year. And again, if Oklahoma has any semblance of an offense last year, that game is a completely different football game.
Yeah, and I think their defense may be a hair better at Tennessee, even without James Pierce Jr. I think just overall, the secondary should be better and all of that. But I agree. I don't think that Tennessee's offense is going to be as good as it was last year. So it's going to take them some time. Now, by the time they play Oklahoma on November 1st, could be a different story
at that point.
We'll know exactly who they are in that game. Exactly right, John. So, yeah, if I was to pick one of those, I'd say the road game against South Carolina is probably the one I could say would be a loss there because I think that Lenora Sellers is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. This is that time for him to do that. So he's got enough weapons. We'll see what that looks like. Now, it's the last 3 games.
Just last thing on that is it's an early game on the road.
It is.
On the East Coast. That's going to be a different animal as well. Continue, Jay.
That is very true. That is a very good point. Then you got Alabama going to Tuscaloosa, Missouri coming to the house, and then LSU coming to the house. I'm going to be honest. I can see 2 wins out of that 3.
Yeah, I mean, 1 and 2, 2 and 1 are both on the table. You're not losing to Missouri. I'm not. You can.
They're gonna turn it up on them. They're gonna purposely blow them out.
Bookmark it. Send it to freezing cold takes. Whatever you want to do. Oklahoma is not losing to Missouri this year. It's just not happening.
Yeah, they're gonna turn up the intensity in that game.
Then you're talking about. Then you got to win one. You got to beat Alabama or LSU. 2 tough games. You get LSU at home this year. You got to go to Tuscaloosa. I think they're going to be tough. I have a hard time seeing 2-1, but man, stranger things have happened.
It is. Stranger things have, and we've seen Oklahoma come out and win games that wouldn't surprise you either. But yeah, I am definitely. I think that the game in Tuscaloosa is going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. The last time we played there, Oklahoma was also successful, kind of like this last year where they were at home. So the question is at that point, what Alabama is going to be, will Oklahoma be better? That is where we're at this point. And
yeah.
I don't think Oklahoma's going to back down. Now, it's funny to hear that Paul says between 8 and 9 wins. So that means that if we go off him, he's probably thinking Texas, South Carolina, Alabama, and LSU would be the 4 losses if we had 4 losses. And then he would probably drop it just LSU, or probably LSU, Alabama, Texas would be the 3 losses, which means he think we take out South Carolina, Ole Miss, as well as Tennessee. Now, again, it's kind of questionable on who he would pick, but that makes the most sense if you look at the logic that he's leveraging. I know he's high on South Carolina. He's not very high on Ole Miss. He's waiting for them to see what their quarterback's going to look like. And Tennessee's going through so much turmoil. Now they have a new quarterback that didn't go through spring. There's more questions there. So it's the thinking that Paul has, it makes me wonder. I really want to know what teams he really thinks going to be able to pull out those victories against Oklahoma this year.
Yeah, and those seem to be the 4. If you're going to pick 4 for Oklahoma to go 8-4 against, those are the 4, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I get the Texas love and I get the hype there. Alabama, I think, has a chance to be as good or better than what they were last year. We'll see what Ty Simpson is. LSU, I think, is going to be as good or better. For them, it's about the defense. If they can get the defense better, again, we're not going to say against Oklahoma because, again, Oklahoma didn't really have much of an offense. But for much of last year, their defense was just kind of okay. If the defense is better, they'll be a good team. South Carolina is going to be a good team, but they did lose a lot on the defensive side of the ball. You know, yes, they have Dylan Stewart, but they lost Kyle Kennard. They lost Tonka Hemingway. They lost middle linebacker and safety help and cornerback. Like, they lost a lot on defense. They've got a lot, but they lost a lot too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a very different looking group for that unit. So to me, the floor for Oklahoma is 8-4. That's kind of where I find myself falling with them. Could they be 7-5? Yeah, sure. I mean, anything's possible. We're in an SEC where you can't sleep on anybody. You can't sleep on the teams that you think are even going to be the bottom dwellers of the conference. But I think as many as 10 wins is also possible.
Yeah.
It's all on the table for them.
That's the good thing. There's no definitive when it comes to Oklahoma on this right now. And I think that's the thing that makes me the happiest is that we really actually are in a situation where we could possibly do great or we could possibly do really good. Like, there's not very many, oh no, this team is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Type situations. We have very few of those. And I'm happy about that.
Unless the offensive line runs through a rash of injuries like they did last year. Again, then maybe. But I just don't see that happening again.
Me either.
And maybe that's crazy, and I should knock on wood, but I just don't see the offensive line being as bad as it was last year. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to be above average to good. And if it's above average to good, Oklahoma's going to be really, really successful this year. If it's average, I think they still have a chance to win 7 or 8 games. If it's bad, I mean, we had a bad offensive line last year and you won 6.
Just crazy.
So what's the difference between bad offensive line play and good offensive line play? Is it just 2 wins? To me, it's not. Like, if you get good offensive line play with the defense that Oklahoma's going to put out on the field and the quarterback that they've got leading the way, they're a playoff team.
Yep.
It's not crazy.
100%. It's actually not a crazy idea whatsoever. Not at all. It's kind of wild the fact that we can actually say that, though. I know there's a lot of Oklahoma fans out there that don't want
to believe that it's possible. They don't want to be hurt again. I get you. I get you.
We warned you last year, though. We warned you last year that it was not going to be very easy. We just needed certain things to fall our direction, and everything went the opposite direction. Just keep that
everything went the opposite direction. But here we are. It's June. We got 2 months to the start of the regular season. Let us know. What do you think? Is Paul Finebaum crazy? Are we crazy?
Paul.
What's going on here? Discuss it in the YouTube. Discuss it in Discord. Go join our free Discord channel over there, and you can talk Oklahoma football with a lot of great Sooner fans. It's a great conversation over there. There's a mixture. There's optimism. There's realists. There's some that are just down on this team. They want to see it proven on the football field before they get any kind of excited. Good discussion. So go check it out over there. Until next time, make sure you follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner. Paul's going to be wrong, though. It's going to be more than that.
Yeah, because Oklahoma's going to beat Texas 6-0. And everything's in front of them.